Hello everyone, I'm Bable Jonathan and this is The Inside. In this edition of the program, we're going to make a zoom in on Batibo in the Momo Division, northwest region of the Republic of Cameroon, a locality where two administrative officials have been abducted and until now their whereabouts remains unknown. The division officer for Batibo and the Northwest Regional Delegate for Social Affairs. It is a locality, one of the localities highly affected by the Anglophone crisis, a locality where inhabitants hear gunshots at very close intervals of time, and a locality invaded by security and defense forces in their numbers in search for the abducted administrative officials and also maintaining peace and security. In some few seconds, meet our guest. Our guest in this edition of the program is GILBERT NGIMNDOH. He is a civil society actor and, of course, a historian. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Mr. Babila. Good evening, viewers. Glad to be here with you to talk about the issues plaguing our country, Cameroon. Thank you.
Right. We're going to start with the major news of the week. The President of the Republic of Cameroon, Paul Biya, has reshuffled his cabinet, kicking out of government some regime barons like the director of the civil cabinet at the presidency of the Republic, Martin Bellinga Ebutu, the Minister of Transport, the former Minister of Transport, Edgar Ale Mebengo, as well as Ange Michel Anguin, former Minister of Public Service and Administrative Reforms, and of course others, and also bringing in some new persons like Nalova Pauline Lyonga, who was formerly the Vice Chancellor of the University of Boya and has been appointed the Minister of Secondary Education, and most conspicuous amongst them is Atanganji Paul, appointed Minister of Territorial Administration. What's your take on this cabinet shake-up by the President of the Republic?
Yeah, thank you. My take is that, you see, when we say that we call some people regime barons, I tend to wonder what kind of barons they are, because the President of the Republic, who is the people's choice, who is supposed people's choice, has everything at his disposal. He forms the government and he knows among those he has chosen, he has appointed, what each and every one of them is up to, what they can produce to Cameroonians. He is expected of them. Sometimes the appointments the President of the Republic makes may portray the President as somebody who doesn't know how to make choices. Sometimes may make the people who voted him to doubt his choice of people he accredits to work in the administration. When we look at somebody, personality like Martin Bellinga Ebutu, for example, there is somebody who refused working as Cameroon ambassador to the United Nations, came back to Cameroon and was appointed director of the civil cabinet at the presidency. Somebody like Edgar Mebengo left from the DGSN, the Director of National Security, to the Ministry of Defense, and from now he went to Ministry of Transport. It is just normal that if he is no longer productive, he is no longer living up to expectations, the head of state should give confidence to a different person. I do not see anything as a baron in him who has to continue working if the head of state realizes that he is no longer productive to Cameroonians. There is nothing wrong in that. Besides, you look at these very personalities, Mebengo and Martin Bellinga Ebutu. These are village brothers to the head of state, who normally should give way for others to come in. And sorry, it doesn't make any difference to say that the president should shift them aside and then those that have come in. By the way, this person who has replaced Martin Bellinga Ebutu is still somebody close to the president in terms of geographical area. The former Cameroon ambassador to France is somebody, Mvodo is somebody who is still close to him. So it makes no difference, simply shifting aside some other person, somebody who has been there and who apparently is no longer productive, to bring in somebody who can come in with fresh brains, ideas, and of course Cameroonians may benefit from them.
But many of the opinion that Cameroonians should not expect anything new from this, from what is qualified today as new but old government, considering the fact that many of those who have been appointed have simply been shifted from one ministry to the other. The Minister of Economic Planning and Regional Development, for example, Louis-Paul Motaze, has been shifted to the Ministry of Finance, and Alamin Usman May from the Ministry of Finance to the Ministry of Economic Planning and Regional Development, and the Minister of Territorial Administration and Decentralization, as it was called before. It has been splitted now into two. Rene Sadi has been shifted to the Presidency of the Republic as Minister of Special Duties to take the post of Atanganji Paul, while Atanganji Paul goes over to take over the new Ministry of Territorial Administration.
And no, the Ministry of Territorial Administration is not a new ministry, practically. There is a new ministry that has been created out of decentralization and local development, and to it some person has been appointed. Mr. Atanganji Paul has been appointed Minister of Territorial Administration and Decentralization. So the confusion that came in here is, what is the difference between territorial administration and decentralization, and again decentralization and local development? There is a mix up there, there is a nuance somewhere inside there. Now coming to the others, my specific concern was on those that have been flushed out of government: the Civil Cabinet Director and the Minister of Transport. Well, as of the Minister of Minfopra, the Minister of Public Works, Minister of Minfopra, Ange Michel Anguin, with those ones, they are simply sent out of government so that new people should come in. Now, concerning what you just said, people are not confident of what may be of them. Why would people not be confident? I think that if Motaze has been taken out of Minepat and sent to Minefi, Ministry of Finance, he may bring in ideas that may lift up the lapses that were in that ministry. For example, if Alamin Osman may have been brought to Minepat, Regional Development Ministry, I think that he can bring in some ideas. So I will not share with Cameroonians who are on the opinion that nothing good will come out of them. If nothing good will come out of them, then the head of state wouldn't see any reason exchanging them. That swap sometimes can bring out some fruits, except I want to feel that
but the same people who have been in power, who have been in those ministries handling the affairs of the state, will probably maintain the same system, and the same system will produce the same results.
Well, in that case, I still want to beg to differ there, because I don't believe that if you were serving as the Minister of Transport, for example, you were serving as the Minister of Finance, for example, then you are pushed now to the Ministry of Regional Development, you will have to bring out something, except they want to make it known that the head of state made a wrong choice by placing them where they are. Normally, these are people who, in their ministries, they have been what is a stance. It's a general notion in Cameroon that ministers do what they like in their ministries. After all, they have executive power. They have all those powers that keep them there. And besides, there is that notion equally that there are people who are close to the head of state. But I want to ask that if they are not close to the head of state, then what do we expect? They are supposed to be close to the head of state. Who is more close to the head of state than who? They are supposed to be appointed. My take from it is that we should expect something new from them. We should expect new ideas that will come up from these people who have been placed in new ministries, who will swap, and then we should equally expect something from those that came in newly.
Those same people have been fading over the years to produce results.
We cannot say they have faded over the year. If they have faded in a ministry, they have now been given confidence in another ministry. If they fit in these new ministries handed over to them, then we shall consider them now faded people, and then they will have to fake out And if the head of state doesn't do that, then he too faces the problem of choice. My only problem with the head of state is that when Cameroonians cry about some particular people, we instead get shocked by the confidence he increasingly gives to them. And that is where my concern is, because it is very glaring that some of those ministers have some kind of images they have portrayed that are very doubtful to Cameroonians. You look at somebody like Madame Nalunga, Dr. Nalova, for example. This is somebody who, when she was VC in the University of Boya, she handled a little crisis raised by students in a very brutal way that she put her public image into a very serious question. And from there, she has been pushed into a ministry that concerns education again. This is somebody who has outrightly denied acknowledging the crisis plaguing the country, the Anglophone crisis. Another conspicuous person, like you just said, was Minister Paul Atanganji, somebody who, on media, like we are, told Anglophones that they don't have any problem, and he stood by his words. The brutality of Anglophone Cameroonians that he suffered in Bamenda has made him to be considered a persona non grata in the Northwest and in the Southwest. And in fact, let us be very clear that this is somebody whose image is even doubtful in the French of very objective Cameroonians, not only Anglophones, because there are objective Cameroonians who actually acknowledge this problem. They acknowledge and know that this problem has roots from history, which proper resolution has to be traced from history and not simply given some kind of inappropriate solution. But this man particularly refused and continued to support the head of state in his kind of military method he has used.
And that is why many consider his appointment as a reward for what can be qualified as extreme loyalty to the head of state. And now this is somebody who you say Cameroonians doubt his integrity, and he has been handed an important ministry like territorial administration. And you are saying that we should expect something new from this government?
Well, to be very precise with you, somebody like Atangaji sometimes could have been extreme the way he was because he was lobbying to get closer to the President of the Republic and probably catch a lucrative and a juicy position like he is now. And I will continue to insist that in that kind of position that he holds the keys to the problems that the head of state proposed to Cameroonians. I listened to his statement well during his end of year speech and during his Youth Day speech. He said it is clear, and the information coming from the fee is clear, that the people want to increasingly manage their own resources. This is local development we are talking about, and this is what the Constitution of 1996, February 1996, was clear on that. That Constitution talked on decentralization. If it was effected, then this country would not have been degrading and weighing down to the level which it was. If this man has been placed in this position where he has the key to actually decentralize the country and avoid this problem, then I feel that let him now seek solution. He said there is no Anglophone problem. Now he has been placed where he has the key to actually provide solutions. It is that ministry that decentralizes. Let him wrap it up. Because for him to continue his loyalty, for him to show his loyalty to the President of the Republic, it is by working well. And I don't think that by having that post means that he can be close to the head of state without producing anything.
Yes,
by
and the question now is somebody who does not recognize a problem. How do you expect him to provide a solution to that problem?
Well, as of now, let me say this. At one time, when I listened to an interview and a write-up that one of my very cherished mentors, Professor Gilbert at the University of Yaoundé, said, what he said was that most of these Anglophone elites who happen to be political actors openly deny that Anglophones do not have any problem. But it is very unfortunate that on the ground they are furnishing documents to that effect. And I want to believe he is one of that. Atanganji Paul, as a Northwest elite, as a Cameroonian elite, as an Anglophone elite, he is one of those that publicly refutes the existence of this problem, but he knows very well that there is this problem. He particularly cannot go to the Northwest the way he wants. That is very clear. He cannot go to the Northwest any way he likes, except under very tight security. Northwesterners, Southwesterners, even, I want to insist, even some objective Cameroonians cannot see him moving, and they will allow him move freely.
If he cannot go to the Northwest freely, as you said, he cannot perform his duties because he will be expected on the ground in the coming months regarding the Anglophone crisis. So how is it going to work? How is he going to perform his duties if he has been practically rejected by his own people? He cannot go to the Northwest freely, and the President of the Republic appoints him to bring solution.
Well then, no, he has to go to the field. It has come to a level where he has to go to the field because he is no longer going to the field as Atanga Njipo, who was Minister of Special Duty in the Presidency of the Republic. He is now going to the field as an answer to the problems that Anglophones are asking. He is going
and you
there
think
as
the people will listen to him?
The people will have to listen to him. Cameroonians, Anglophones that are in anguish now, Anglophones that are crying now, Anglophones that are suffering now, Anglophones that are lavishing now are still reasonable enough. That change is a message which I think that the President of the Republic has sent, that okay, this is your own brother, let him solve that problem. It is like a trap that has been set for Minister Atanga Njipo, either to enter there or to escape. He will enter there if he handles the keys to the problems of the Anglophones with the ministry that has been given to him, and he fails to solve the problem. He will enter that trap. He will not enter the trap if he enters that ministry and then rapids up the implementation of the 1996 Constitution by effectively decentralizing Cameroon. That means that Anglophones are people who by tradition want to manage their things themselves. They don't believe in a centralized government. It is not part of English culture. It is not part of English administration. All English countries in the world believe in regional development. That means local governments. That is what makes efficiency. He has been given the command now to work out. Like you said, it is doubtful if Anglophones will permit him to go to the Northwest. I want to insist that as it stands now, there is nothing that will stop him from going to that field and to do it. And I want to insist again that the very Anglophones who are in crisis understand very well the stakes.
So they should receive him. Is that
as he has become. And I will call on them, I will beckon on them to receive him and to see what he is up to in the new position he has been entrusted in it, because that it is that position that will help him. It is that position that will be the answer to the problem, that will actually decentralize this country. He holds the baton. He is the one.
Even though the ministry has been splitted into two and decentralization is now the duty of another person, while Atanga Njipo will simply concentrate on the administration. And now another person that you mentioned earlier is Nalova Lyonga, former Vice Chancellor of the University of Buea, and who critics say failed to handle properly the strike action by students in that higher institution of learning. And now she has been handed over another area of education, a broader area of education, talking about the Ministry of Secondary Education, a ministry and a domain of education hit by a plethora of problems. We have teachers who are going on strike every now and then. And the question now is, will she be able to handle all this?
Why not? She will be able to handle it, and she will handle it well. If she doesn't, first and foremost, she is qualified to be in that ministry. That is the first thing. She is qualified to be in that ministry. Now, the way she will approach the problems will then determine the credibility that is in her and what Cameroonians await from her. Let's be specific when we say these things. You know, Anglophone Cameroonians had for long now complained that there are key ministries that Anglophones have never handled, and that cry was legitimate because the President of the Republic caused it himself. I think in 1983, when he made a statement that there are certain positions that cannot just be handled by any kind of person. That statement had an impact. And the Anglophones reasoned from that statement that there are some positions in Cameroon that those people he called just any kind of person should be Anglophones. And that is why those strategic ministries like MINAT, Ministry of Territorial Administration and Decentralization, like secondary education, for example, and others, justice and some Ministry of Finance have not been heard by any Anglophone. As of now, he has appointed an Anglophone in MINAT, he has appointed an Anglophone in MINISEC. Coming to the personality of Madame Dr. Lyonga, she rough handled the crisis in the University of Buea, and I think that very year 2016, during the New Year offerings that they gave to the Higher Education Minister, Professor Famendongo made it very clear, abundantly clear to them, that the university institution is semi-autonomous. Let rectors and vice chancellors learn to take responsibility, because if they fail to manage the affairs of their universities, they will be held responsible. That message was directed to her. She was the one who was concerned with that message, because there was no reason why a crisis, students demand legitimate issues from the administration of the university, and then the response was to call the DO, to send the police, send the gendarmes, send the bill, to come and maim, to come and torture. It was so disgraceful to smash people's children, young Cameroonians, on top of dirty water, shit coming from toilets and everywhere in Buea. I mean, it was something that put the image of Cameroon to mud in the eyes of every other nation in the world.
And she's taking over the Ministry of Secondary Education in the midst of yet another strike action similar to the strike action in the University of Buea, maybe not as great as the one in the University of Buea, but we have tens of teachers who are in detention now as we speak. They were arrested in the nation's capital, Yaoundé, while they were protesting, demanding for what is supposed to be given to them, their salaries for several months that have not been paid. And some of them were arrested, tens of them, and detained in different police stations in Yaoundé. And now she has been handed over the ministry. Are you sure she's not going to handle the problem the same way as she did in the University of Buea?
No. She would not handle that way. First thing is that these teachers are not only tens of them. According to figures that I saw on papers, they are more than 100, even more than 200, who are distributed into various prisons there in Yaoundé. I mean, for reasons best known to some government officials who gave such a nasty order. The order was really nasty because one of the president's policies is to empower the youth. And then during the Youth Week, I heard him say that, to empower the youth, empower the youth, empower the youth. And how can you intend to be empowering the youth and then you don't want to pay those who are training those youths? The ministry that has the highest budget in this country is MINISEC. And it puzzles not only me, every Cameroonian, and not only the teachers, every Cameroonian, why these people are trained to transmit knowledge. And after transmitting, documents have been forwarded to MINFOPRA, they have been forwarded from MINISEC to MINFOPRA, forwarded probably to Ministry of Finance, and for several months they are not paid. These are people who live from various parts of Cameroon. Within those teachers, you may have people from the extreme north, you may have people from the extreme south, from the extreme east, from everywhere. How do they live in Yaoundé? This is where the problem is. And some of our ministers who live comfortably, drive in good cars, and do not feel the impact of what these teachers are going through. And teaching is even some kind of vocation, which is very dangerous to teach. You cannot give your best when you are in kind of condition that is uncomfortable. It is very difficult. When you leave home with some kind of problems, nervous problems, salary problems, tell me how a teacher will do his best. Tell me how a teacher will actually transmit the knowledge well. And after showing their disgruntledness, which is legal, which is legitimate according to the Constitution, order is given that they should be arrested.
And latest information seemingly indicate that the tens of them who have been detained in some detention centers in Yaoundé are not hundreds as earlier reported. And when we look at what is happening today, teachers, the very people who are training even the most top government officials, and they are being maltreated in this way, months without salaries. And you're saying that Cameroonians should expect something from this government, which has practically not changed.
Well, the government has changed. The government has changed. It is not like the government has not changed. The
same people are there.
Yes,
just some few like Nalova who have come in.
No, when Gale Bihebe was sent to the Ministry of Secondary Education, from where he came from, many teachers did not expect to see what he was able to do for these 2 years that he has been there. I mean, he handled that ministry in a way that was somehow more satisfactory, far more satisfactory than late Louis Bapes, who was there. That was somebody, I went with there and I realized that Mr. Louis Bapes has signed 2 principals for 1 school without even knowing himself. I mean, I lived a situation where a principal is accredited into a school, 2 weeks later, another one comes with an appointment letter as the principal of that very school. You can imagine what happened. But when this man came in now, there was a clean house campaign, which was done. And at least for the 2 years he was there was some effective work done in that ministry. The new shoe that is entering now, there is much expected. Firstly, at the level of rampant crisis and rampages that teachers are going to, she has to painstakingly go into those crises and then try as much as possible to satisfy the teachers, not in long term, in short term, because it does not take anything. It doesn't take anything. Ordering for the payment, giving the voucher to the Ministry of Finance to pay the teachers, it doesn't take her anything. It is not her money, it is the teacher's money. Secondly, she has to look into the problems affecting the teaching fee in Cameroon, because this nation is degrading and going down like this. Most important problem comes from the education system, especially that secondary education. When teachers go on rampage, let them be looked into, let them be listened to, because they cannot go to rampage for nothing. They cannot go marching on the street, abandon their children they are supposed to teach for nothing. I think they have to be listened to. Concerning Madame Leonga, again, let us come back to her again. She is good using very rash decisions to approach problems, justified from how she mismanaged the crisis in UB, the University of Boya. When she enters secondary education now, she will need to learn from her lesson. So I would not like to be very pessimistic the way you are, Mr. Jonathan. You are being so pessimistic about
I'm not pessimistic.
But I'm saying that let us be optimistic and let us not say that the government has not changed. I mean, there is that swap within the government sector, and the swap is intended to see the inputs from different people who might have been in government for a very long time, but then they were producing in different ministerial departments. Swapping them now and putting them elsewhere is an opportunity given to them to show their know-how in the new dispensations they are into. So Madam will need to show a lot first by resolving the problems, the psychological problems, the educational problems, and most importantly, the financial problems that the teachers have at hand to handle. She is up to the task, and she will do it.
All right, we're going to take a look at what the newspapers reported this week. Coming up, the press review. attack on John Fundi's residence in Bamenda, election of Honorable O.C. Joshua's STF flag bearer, possible Akere Muna, Maurice Kamto and O.C. Joshua coalition, and release of some Ambazonian leaders as some of the major news highlights reported by the written press this week. The Guardian Post puts forth the question, who set Chairman Fundi's Ntarikon residence on fire? The news article further indicates that officials of the Social Democratic Front are pointing accusing fingers at two quarters, but vow that the fire incident will not stop the party from contesting all 2018 elections. The paper further highlights a statement made by Famen Dongo, Minister of Higher Education, on Radio France International. I quote, "Security forces have never used live bullets on Anglophone protesters," end of quote. Another issue of the Guardian Post reports the release of two Ambazonian leaders arrested with Sisiku Ayuktabe and others. The Post reports what it qualifies as power changing hands from John Fundi to O.C. Joshua at the SDF 9th elective convention, during which the former handed over the party's flag to the latter, and this is described by the Guardian Post as danger signal sent to the ruling Cameroon People's Democratic Movement (CPDM), a party which, according to the reporter, is panicking after O.C. Joshua took over the SDF flag ahead of a Joshua O.C. versus Paul Biya battle announced by The Voice. And the battle has started with O.C. Joshua telling the Post-Weekender that President Paul Biya should be impeached for declaring war on Cameroonians. And the Sun reports that the rise to presidential race leadership by O.C. Joshua is fever sweeping across Cameroon ahead of the 2018 presidential election. In the meantime, questions are rising, as reported by the Guardian Post, on who to lead a possible Akere Muna, Kamto and O.C. Joshua coalition against President Paul Biya. The nationality of one of them is at the center of controversies after he became the SDF flag bearer at a political come-together qualified by the median as historic. O.C. Joshua's double nationality provoked raging debate, reported by The Horizon. The paper and News Watch question, will the Constitutional Court disqualify his candidacy? The Star describes the race to the Senate as ugly, characterized by fighting within political parties, influence of money and power, and consultation of magicians. As reported in the Rambler, John Fundi tells President Paul Biya, "Let's both save Cameroon," while Eden highlights Prime Minister Philemon Yang's efforts to curb waste in public spending by trimming flight privileges for company bosses. And that's all we had time for in this edition of The Inside. More news from the papers next week. Welcome back. Before we go to the main focus of this edition of the program, Gilbert NGIMNDOH, what's your reaction to the attack this week on the residence of the national chairman of the Social Democratic Front, John Fundi, in Bamenda?
Attacked to be completely condemned. Condemned because this is an opinion leader. For no reason should he be attacked by whosoever in Cameroon. I don't see that. I don't see any reason behind the attack perpetrated on the residence of the chairman of the STF, because he hasn't done anything wrong. If the Anglo-Saxon Cameroon regions are in deep crisis, it is not of his making, and he has done a lot to actually show his position to government. He is not supposed to go to the bushes and carry guns. He is not supposed to side with the people unnecessarily, although he is siding with Anglophones. I recognize he sides with Anglophones. Calling on dialogue every day is what Anglophone, every Cameroonian who is Anglo-Saxon calls for it. Every other Cameroonian who is objective calls for it, and he has been part of it. So the reasons for which his compound has been attacked is best known to the perpetrators of the act, and I think that such people could not, they are surely wanted by the law.
And that attack definitely speaks volumes of the worsening situation on the ground, which is, of course, what is being witnessed today in the Batibo, a locality where 2 administrative officials have been abducted, and until now, their whereabouts remains unknown.
Let me tell you something. It is undone for administrative officers to be abducted in an area where security officers are present. I wonder how the divisional officer of a locality will be abducted, and up to today there are no traces. Where did they pass? How did they pass? Batibo is not even situated along the boundary where we could say that they might have entered into a neighboring country. They are certainly still here in Cameroon, except otherwise, which is a weakness on the part of the security force. I would like to be very clear on that. Again, to further say that the security forces, there is a lapsus, there is a lacune in there. I mean, there such has a corporate credibility, which is doubtful, because in the same weeks when an administrator has been abducted, another one is abducted. The
Marcel Namata Diteng, divisional officer of Batibo, abducted on the 11th of February.
The 11th of February.
In the context of activities marking the Youth Day celebration.
Exactly.
And more than 2 weeks, getting to 3 weeks, now his whereabouts unknown. And just after that, as you were indicating, Nimbom Aaron Young, regional delegate of social affairs of the Northwest region, abducted in the same locality.
And there are two contexts here. The first context is that of the Youth Day. That of the Youth Day in a locality where there are deep-rooted crises. In a region where the presence of the security forces, the law enforcement forces are actively present, believed to be actively present. And then, within the very context when they are not only actively present to secure the activities of the Youth Day, but at the same time fighting to put order in that area where there are crises. That is when the administrator is abducted. There is a credibility doubt on the forces of law and order themselves. In the same vein, the moments when security is supposed to be stepped up in that area to search and bring back the administrator who was abducted, another one, the direct representative of the Minister of Social Affairs in the Northwest, is abducted again from the same locality where there is a search going on. Something is going wrong. Something is going wrong, definitely. And what is going wrong, only the security forces know. I am tempted to question what they are doing there in the name of search, what they are doing there in the name of security, what they are doing there in the name of law and order. Because like John Freddy, the chairman of the SDF, said last time, firstly he made it in the press which I watched. Secondly, from his letter he recently wrote to the President of the Republic, he made it very clear there that the forces of law and order, besides committing several other atrocities, have profited from the crisis to steal, to loot, and to commit kind of things that are unthinkable. I want to believe that these people are now profiting from the crisis, and they are concentrating in other things than what they are actually supposed to do. Because it is unbelievable that the B are in Batibo, the gendarmes are in Batibo, and in fact all sorts of uniform officers that Cameroon have are supposed to be in this locality, and an administrator is abducted in an area. Even when they move in groups, doesn't mean that when the first one was abducted, did they not take precautions to know that it was supposed to be the start and others may follow? There is a problem here.
And with
they did not take precautions.
And with the number of security forces deployed to the ground, more than 2 weeks, the whereabouts of the abducted administrative official remains unknown.
That is exactly
what can really explain that?
That is exactly the lapses we are talking now on the level of first the administrative authorities in the Northwest, the senior divisional officer of the Momo division, for example, the governor of the Northwest, for example, the commanders of the Northwest Legion, the commanders of the Northwest Region, both gendarmerie and the military. These are people who have answers to some of these issues. Let us not believe that within the ranks of the security forces there is already discontinuity, because if that is the case in the Northwest, it is very dangerous. If that is the case everywhere, it is very dangerous. I read a write-up by one military officer, though it was on social media, it was simply on social media, who was trying to paint a picture where it looks like order is not well given, and it looks like order is not well taken among the in the battlefield, and he was trying to put up a situation whereby some military officers or some law enforcement officers are trying to deviate the real attention for which they have been sent there. But it doesn't so much matter in this context here. But what should preoccupy us is that once an administrative authority has been abducted, what guarantee is there that the next one will not be abducted? This is where they failed. And in the midst of searching for that one, another one was uprooted again and gone. Both of them are under. Where is the guarantee that the third one will not go? No. This is the problem that is in Batibo, in the Momo division in Northwest region.
A special envoys to Batibo, Mimi Mefo, and Innocent Abiga were at the residence of the abducted divisional officer of Batibo, Marcel Namata Titeng.
We are actually at the private residence of the DO, whose whereabouts up to now remains unknown. It's been more than 2 weeks now that local administrative authorities as well as security forces have been devising means, multiplying search as well as investigations to uncover his whereabouts ever since his disappearance on the 11th of February 2018. It should be noted, as you can see, we're actually at his private residence. This is the outdoor toilet of the divisional officer for Batibo in the Northwest region of Cameroon. We are actually there. The team of reporters of Equinox Television were given access, granted special access to his private residence here in Batibo, thanks to the intervention of security forces that are equally here on the ground guarding the properties of the divisional officer whose whereabouts up to now remains unknown. We can see that the area has been practically abandoned. His families that were left behind, their whereabouts is unknown. This is the kitchen, the outdoor kitchen of the DO that went missing on the 11th of February 2018. We can see how the kitchen as well has been abandoned. That is the atmosphere here in Batibo of the Northwest region of Cameroon, where search has continued to intensify. We can see that is the building, the back door building of the residence of the DO. We see how the windows and the walls of the building are practically dilapidated. We can see that the house has been abandoned since the incident occurred, despite the fact that a new DO was appointed by local administrative authorities. We are having information that is actually not resident here in Batibo of the Northwest region of Cameroon. This is another view of the house of the DO for Batibo in the Northwest region of Cameroon. Local authorities, security forces are there guarding the area. We could only find security forces. We could not find a soul in this area. It is, of course, a no-go area for the population, a no-go area for people, except for local administrative authorities. The senior divisional officer for Momo division in the Northwest region of Cameroon was actually here to assure the population as well as security forces that they should multiply the search following the disappearance as well of the delegate of social affairs in the Northwest region of Cameroon. We can see how vehicles are parked here. We can as well see the residence of the DO for Batibo subdivision, Namata Marcel Diteng. We would be taking our televiewers to the front of the house of the DO. This is how the house has so far been abandoned. Inside we can see the blinds, the chairs. We can see the chairs that were practically abandoned by the family of the missing DO. Up to now, his whereabouts is unknown.
And life in Batibo has become a bitter pill, just too difficult to swallow for inhabitants. Gunshots here and there, security forces deployed in their number. Many inhabitants of the area fled their homes simply because of the unbearable situation in which they are living today as a result of the worsening Anglophone crisis, notably after the abduction of the two administrative officials in that locality. Mimi Mefo once more brings us details on live today in Batibo.
Batibo is one of the subdivisions in Momo. It is located 40 kilometers from Bamenda and about 100 miles east of Nigeria. It is also situated along the Bamenda-Manfi Highway and known as the economic, social, political and cultural heartbeat of the Mogamo-speaking people. This is the area where two administrators have in 2 weeks been picked up by unknown armed individuals and taken to an undisclosed destination. In Batibo, life has not been the same again for the population since the kidnapping of the divisional officer for the said locality on the 11th of February and the escalation of the Anglophone crisis. During a tour through the neighborhoods, doors were closed even in the afternoon and the streets were empty. Only few persons could be spotted.
They don't go see other thing be start how they be tip, they can't take D for fee for 11 February. Since that day they be taken, so people they be there for your army, then they be there for you. So all picking, they run them. Now all we she don't. So we no do we.
This grandmother explains that her son fled the village for safety. She and other locals further recounted how their economic and social activities have crumbled as a result of the prevailing situation.
You know the chop flop, you don't be steady for places you want to do something. You see the run, you know what you have. You must fear. So we have no way for go for manage lifestyle. Just day.
We no day we would go buy thing for the go stand for chop we begin there. And how we would me and my banya we must around die. You know gay brother and sister. Now only we will take compound. A palaver money, we know the gay with money.
They are the only Batibo-based residents who accepted to talk to Equinox TV's team of reporters. Their desire is for the return to normalcy in the area and in the entire northwest region of Cameroon. To the administrators, the tension would have been minimized if the population worked in close collaboration with forces of law and order.
They fear how they name people, they come, they shoot that gun, they want to shoot and so they say they don't want to see a boy picking. More do her. They gave for run. If now you see gun, they should show you should run. As they told, they said they want a man picking them. Come for some mammy where they for us where it passed me safe. Some small money will be put up for basket for move and biting that they move them.
But the fear in this part of the northwest region of Cameroon is general.
Thanks a bunch, Mimi Mefo, for that special package prepared with the supervision of the Deputy Editor-in-Chief, Eric Martial Njomo, and I should indicate that a team of reporters to Batibo, Mimi Mefo, Innocent Abega, and Eric Martial Njomo missed narrowly being hit by a bullet that came from an officer on duty while they were on their way to Batibo. It was not an easy journey for them due to the worsening situation on the ground. Now, Gilbert GIMNDOH, when you look at the situation in Batibo today, Do you have the impression that things are going to change anytime soon?
The situation in Batibo now is deteriorating and keep deteriorating because at one point there is a lot of misplaced priorities. Misplaced priorities in that those who are actually tasked to handle situations allow the task handed to them to tackle different things of their own benefit. There in Batibo, I'll begin right from the administrators themselves. When you see what the soldiers do in that Anglophone region, I've been there sometimes and I've noticed that their activities are not actually in line with the mission for which they are there. They are the ones creating the panic, they are the ones creating the situation. And as they continue to create the situation, getting out of it is going to be something undefined now. It's going to be something which will be far, far, far away from as we are talking now. And besides, these people are feeding fat. They have realized that being sent there is as dangerous as being juicy. Juicy in that they benefit a lot from other things. In some areas, it is reported that they catch people's goods. They catch people and then lock them up, collect money from them, and then release them again. In one area, you find that they simply steal things from people, break down houses in the name of searching for people who they know very well that cannot longer be in those houses at those very moments. This is worsening situations, and it is this kind of things that, there are these kind of things that are increasingly radicalizing the Anglophone population. It is not by working with impunity, being brutal, being military in nature, and then creating a kind of image of imperialism and oppression on the population that they think that the people will come to terms with them. On the contrary, it is creating a lot of radicalization in the minds of even children themselves. I watched a video where a child of practically 10 years was toasted around by the soldiers in that area. Tell me, what did that child do to the soldiers? Will that child grow up a normal Cameroonian? He's going to grow up with a lot of grudges. He's going to grow up with a revengeful mind. He's going to grow up as an example, a case study of the Anglophone crisis. And this is how this problem will hardly be resolved by this kind of children who are still coming out, and they are angrier than even the Anglophones who are now. The activities of let me leave the military now. Let's go to the administrator, the decision makers. Those who decide to send the military there also display a lot of misplaced priorities. Some of them are very convenient with a lot of budget that has been allocated for this mission, and they misinform the authorities, they misinform the high quarters, the correct quarters. The President of the Republic, for example, since I started being invited to media, I have always made my point that I am not sure this man is well informed of actually what goes on. I am not sure that this man actually knows the reality of the terrain. He is informed in a way that he will take decisions that suit some people. He is informed in a way that he will take decisions that will lead to a certain result and to the benefit of some people around him. And that is how that misinformation twinkles down. It cascades right down to the decision makers, even on the field, from the governor to senior divisional officers. They are those who have things that they are winning from this crisis in the Anglophone areas. And as they continue with this kind of attitude, tell me how this problem, the resolution to the problem remains far-fetched. It cannot be now, unless, like I said, these changes within ministries bring up some kind of spirit, bring up some kind of new ideas, bring up some kind of know-how from the people, although they are the same people who have been rotating from ministry to another, but much is expected from them now, and the head of state himself. If not, then, like you have asked, the crisis will be a long-standing one. The deterioration, the crisis, the problems Anglophones are facing now will continue and continue and continue until something else that I may not want to mention, because in some situations like this, some people may say regime change. In some situations, some people may say international intervention. In some situations, people may say it's civil war. But I maintain that as it stands now, the Anglophone crisis is becoming a conflict. It is no longer a crisis, it's becoming a conflict. And a tribal conflict, not just a tribal conflict, but a kind of a conflict within ethnic conflict, which is the worst type of conflict in the world. An Anglophone now sees a Francophone as somebody who wants to dominate him. A Francophone now sees an Anglophone as somebody who is stubborn and somebody who wants to. These kind of questions keep propping up, and as they prop up and wrong answers, wrong appreciations are given to it by people who want to continue benefiting there, then resolving the crisis is something that we cannot be thinking of it now, honestly.
All right, Gilbert, we're going to take interviews of the week, and we captured some reactions from some main political actors in the Republic of Cameroon.
I'm more than concerned by the way the government has handled the matter, or has not handled at all. First of all, now they try to say, okay, it was just a matter of education, as you said, and legal system or whatsoever. But we are far beyond that now, because at the very beginning, the government, starting with the head of state himself, could have gone there, meet his people. He has been elected for that reason, to handle any situation occurring in the country. I don't understand why after 2 years he has not been able to go there, or to send a special message to the population of that area. They are Cameroonians. Whether you like it or not, they are Cameroonians. And for me, I don't make any difference between Cameroonians. They are dying. On both sides, they are Cameroonians. And we have to settle the matter. So, the poor leadership of the country should not despair the Cameroonians. That's why I call them to go and register. Go and vote comes the day, and get rid of the poor leadership of the country, and give an opportunity to our fellow compatriots to come together, sit around the table, put their heads and hearts together. I'm sure they will find the right solution. There is no way we can escape from the debate on the form of the state. There is one single issue which for me is off the table. It's the issue of secession. Apart from that, all the other questions, whether it's federalism or whatsoever, we have to discuss that and see what is the better form for our country. Some people are in favor of two-state federalism, but some others are in favor of 10 states and so on. So we have to discuss that. Some are still in favor of regionalism and so on and so forth. But I think we have a very clever people. I'm sure that if they are confident in the government, they will be able to come out with a sound solution to the crisis.
You're saying that they should discuss the form of the state. You have equally mentioned that the President of the Republic is supposed to send a particular message, because it should be noted that he has addressed Cameroonians several times ever since the crisis escalated on the 31st of December. He has addressed Cameroonians even on the 11th, prior to the 11th of February. He has equally indicated that he has been sending delegations to the Anglophone regions of Cameroon. What do you have to say about that when you say that he should send special messages or envoys?
Yes, because in all those statements you are quoting now, I can't find a special message to the population of that side. 21st of October 2016, what did he say? That there is no discussion about the form of the government or the state. But this is not the message.
To him, dialogue has been going on since the crisis.
With who and where? He sent some people there, some of its fellow comrades of CPDM holding some position in the government, but this is the expectation of the people from that side. You send people whom the population do not want them. But yet you insist on sending the same people, creating a useless commission. Excuse me, because the Commission on Bilingualism is not something which can be the solution to this crisis. It should be a permanent body monitoring how far we have gone to with the bilingualism in our country, but not to solve the current crisis. That's why I insisting in saying that if the head of state want to put an end to this crisis, if he cannot go there himself and talk to his people, because it is his people, then he should let Cameroonian know that he's not willing to rule the country anymore. It's not a matter of begging. It is his duty to do so. So I don't see any particular message. When he came back after some time abroad, at the airport, he read a message of 3 or 4 lines. What did he say? Just to escalate the crisis. But I didn't understand. I didn't hear any, peaceful message to these people, letting people understand that he's aware of what is going on and he is committed to settle it. No.
And the situation is escalating like this.
Absolutely.
The refugee crisis now, thousands, tens of thousands of Cameroonians in neighboring Nigeria.
Absolutely.
We've equally been seeing how administrative authorities are being picked up by some yet to be identified individuals, and the government is so silent about the situation of refugees. We're seeing how the United Nations is reacting. What is the Cameroon Renaissance movement saying about the refugee crisis?
That it is sad to know that part of our people are now refugees in a neighboring country, a rich country like Cameroon, and they will be maybe starving there. They have their villages, they have their crops, they cannot do it anymore, and it is a pity. And when you call yourself a member of a government, a leader of a country, whether at any position you are, and you can let such a situation goes on, I say, my humble opinion is that you do not deserve to hold such a position. It is unacceptable that we can, let our lives go on smoothly, quietly, while part of our people is suffering in a neighboring country. Had I have the opportunity, I would have gone there to visit them. Unfortunately, for security reasons, I can't go there, but I would have loved to go there and meet them and talk to them. These are my people. I know them because when we were working on the situation, the crisis between our country and the neighboring country, I used to visit all those villages. I know them, one after other, starting from northwest to southwest. When you talk of Yumejok or Bodam, it's not something for me which is abstract. I know exactly how it is on the ground. So I cannot, I cannot live knowing that these people are suffering and we are not, as a country, as a government, doing anything. It's a pity. And you give me the opportunity to launch a call, an appeal to those who are in charge for some few months again of the country to take some responsibility and to show some concern for the sufferings of these people. They are not all secessionists. They are not all fighters. Let our people come back in their villages.
Do you think that they feel secured? They left it because they were not feeling secure in their country? I
agree with you, and that's why I'm launching the appeal, because if they feel secure, who will give them the security? It's the government. So it is the duty of the government to make its own people feel secure. Yes, that they can return.
Parliamentary session for the year 2018 opens this Friday. What are your expectations, Professor?
Nothing. Seriously, I don't. What do you want me to expect? I will be watching what they are doing there. If hopefully something good can come out for our country, then fine.
Are you going to be a candidate for the CRM party?
Hopefully my comrades will pick me up as their candidate. But for now, they have not yet done so, because the convention of our party will take place on the 13th, 14th, and 15th of April. And after that, you will know if I'm the candidate or not. But I'm very hopeful.
What are your views on political transition in Cameroon today? Do you think that It can be enough to unseat the current regime that has been there for more than 30 years. Many say it's a solution.
Yes, I don't use the word transition because transition is something different. Transition means that you are coming out of, global crisis affecting the country, maybe civil war affecting the whole country, and then you need to form this type of coalition to have a transition for sometimes 12 months, 2 years or so. I think rather than if Cameroonian people register massively, go and vote massively comes the day, and monitor their vote, then we'll win. And definitely, I'm sure that, believe me, I'll come back here in your studio and you will call me Mr. President.
The biggest problem of the Anglophone crisis is the absence of leadership in Cameroon. There is no miracle solution for any crisis in the world. The solution to any crisis is to make it such, as we say down at the coast, you cannot clean a fish in a bag. You need to put it on the table to be able to clean it. So if you don't put the problem on the table, you cannot get a solution. People seem to say that time for dialogue is over. Let me explain this let me make this abundantly clear. There has never been a time in the history of humanity where the issues, even as the Second World War and the First World War, etc., were solved uniquely by violence. Issues are solved by negotiation. Issues are solved by discussions. Issues are solved by dialogue. And for that it is imperative to have leadership, because only when you have leadership do you have followers. The problem in Cameroon is that we don't have a leadership, so nobody follows. The problem is that Mr. Biya does what he wants and nobody cares about what he says. And that's why everybody tries to do what he or she wants. The problem, the fundamental problem we have as Cameroonians, be Anglophone or Francophones, but I will say here especially Anglophones today, is that we have no party to talk to. There is nobody, there is no door we can knock at. And you find yourself in a situation which seems flawed as per what is expected by the population, based on the culture, based on the history, based on tradition. And there is absolutely no way you can start a discussion to try to correct or at least be heard, but somebody listens to you and you tell your story and you say why you are disappointed, and then we move on from there. You know, the first problem when somebody is annoyed in your neighborhood, in your family or whatever, is listen to the person. Even if the person has no point, listen to the person. And only after that can you tell the person your points are not valid. But in Cameroon it doesn't happen. When you get annoyed, you get a bullet. And you cannot solve a problem that way. So I think the first step to resolve the Anglophone problem is to change the presidency, who sits in the presidency in the Republic of Cameroon. That's the first step that can be taken, because Mr. Biya is not capable today to release all the political prisoners he has. He's not capable today to release all the innocent people who are in prison just because they were on the streets at the wrong time of the day. He is not capable today to engage in dialogue, because he doesn't even talk to his own ministers. How come will he start talking with people he feels they are all terrorists? And Mr. Biya is not ready today to engage in anything that will be able to empower the average Cameroonian, and I underline Cameroonian, because it's not just an issue that you'll find in the southwest and the northwest. You'll find that same issue all over Cameroon. It's just that the southwest and the northwest has a history of, I would say, community organization, a history of political awareness that our brothers on the other side of the Mungo did not experience through their colonial times, because you had a hyper-centralized government put in place on that side of the Mungo, so they're used to what is happening there. They don't feel that it is something that shouldn't exist. And so I repeat what I'm saying, the only way you can solve this problem is to have a new president who understands the problem, and who is ready to discuss about the problem in the presidency. And it is not about destroying the nation Cameroon. It's not about destroying the borders. It is about readdressing the form of the state fundamentally, and the position of the SDF that I now represent as flag bearer is that we want a federal state. The number of states will be decided by the Cameroonian people. We will not impose it on them. Okay? And we believe that the first solution in Cameroon to solve this problem and many other problems, the fundamental problems of development, etc., is federalism, is to give back the power to the people. And you can only do that through federalism. And that's what we stand for. And so we believe that the first thing that we will work on at the level of institutional changes is to propose a new constitution to the Cameroonian people that takes them away from the hyper-centralized form of the state into a federal republic in which you will have federal capital territory, and you will have a certain number of states that will have their own powers. You have a three-tier devolution of powers, and why not even go further and even think about putting in place a semi-parliamentary regime as well in order to reduce the powers of the president, because that is the problem in Cameroon. From a pit latrine that is built in a primary school somewhere in Babanki up to a mega project that costs 500 billion, everything goes through the desk of the President of the Republic. From the director of the nursery school, the teacher at the nursery school, right up to the minister, everything is appointed by the President of the Republic or by delegation, and that has to stop. So if we do not address that issue, we simply are going nowhere. And we have a golden opportunity to solve the Anglophone issue once and for all in the next 6 months without any drop of blood. It's simply for people to go and register, get registered at their local ELECAM offices, get the voter's card, be ready to vote and vote for change. And let the new leadership that comes in place give a new offer to the Cameroonian people. And you'll see you'll solve the problem without having to go to violence, without having to abdict people, without having to close businesses, without having to burn streets, and without having to kill anybody. And it is possible, and the SDF is out here to offer it.
I'm the first and the only Cameroonian politician who formed a party but refused going to council to be a councillor, refused going to council to be a mayor, refused going to parliament to be a parliamentarian or group leader or vice president, did not go into Senate to start fighting for vice president really so that you have money in your pocket. So this I want to let Cameroonians know, that the future we wanted to give the Cameroonian people, a future of hope, a future to guarantee a better living, was that they should see that all in this country is not only does not only hinge on money. Oh, I need money in my pocket. Let me go here so that I can grab. Sometimes you should be selfless to serve your people. And as I keep quoting to the people, when Moses led the children of Israel out of Egypt across the rivers, the seas, through the deserts, God in the end said, you will not see the promised land, you will stand from a distance see it. But today, Moses' name is still one of the most spoken of names in the Bible. Outside Jesus, I think Moses is the first person that people talk of so much. So, if I have to lead the people to success, the success will not be a one-person success, it will be the people's success. And when people succeed, especially younger people, and you have a better future, live in a good country, even if I'm dead, I don't know whether dead people smile, but I've seen skeletons of people and the teeth are out. I know that they are smiling at their life. So if I can smile that the future I've gone through, I have trained people, I've brought people up, I've led them, and not sit down to think that all that makes a man live and be happy is money. No.
What message clearly are you sending out?
Is that they should know when to give up. They should know when to let go. And they should know that life is not what you make of it yourself and to have it all yourself. You should let other people try. Victory for the SDF through OC is victory for the people, for the Cameroonian people. It's not victory for OC. Well, you were young when I was doing politics. Whenever I went to the field, I told the people that the party is sending me to come talk to them. I didn't go to drum in my chest to say, I've come to say that Frundi said that. It's Frundi talking to you. No. It is somebody talking on behalf of the SDF. The victory will be that of the Cameroonian people. The success will be that of the Cameroonian people. If what I did today makes Cameroonians proud, Cameroonians will be proud and other countries will be learning from that. And when they learn, I think that it is their place to emulate and see what they can also do.
As somebody who has led it now, you decided not to stand as presidential candidate. We have Honorable Joshua Osei. What do you think could possibly be his chances?
No, he has all the chances before him. He has, the sky will be the limit for him. And I feel very satisfied and happy with the work I've done on the field to implant the party, to make sure that the party is known in all the nooks and corners of this country. I've taught Cameroon 20 times in 28 years. And as I told somebody, I used to leave here by 5 p.m. in the evening. By 7 a.m. I'm in Gaundere. I continue by 11 I'm in Marwa. By about 3 o'clock I'm in Marwa. I continue by 5 o'clock I'm in Kuseri. I continue by 11 p.m. I'm in Blangwa, the Lake Chad Basin. I start from there talking to people coming back, going Afedil, Kolofata, and all those places, Gulfei, etc. So I've taught all the country, and because the belief I had was that for you to be a successful politician, by the way, what is politics? Politics is dealing with the people. For you to deal with the people, you have to know them. For you to know them, you have to go to them. When you go to them and see where they are, and you talk to them, you give them the philosophy, what your party stands for. Because when we talk, for instance, of the federal system of government, people don't understand, but you have to go explain to the people the basic tenets of it to the people so that they understand that this party has this for us. It's not sending pictures, vote for that man, you see that man in that picture, vote for him. Pictures don't talk to people. Pictures don't have a knowledge of where you are and what you are going through. You've come to Bamenda, you've seen me. When I go to Yaoundé, I see the people there. I go to Kuseri, I see the people there. I know them. So when you're telling me that, for instance, Boko Haram is in the north, it's attacked Mokolo, it's attacked Yagwa, they've attacked on the mountains of Meri, I know where the place is. Muskuda, I know where all those places are.
Those are your legacies, Mr. Chairman. Those are your achievements. What would you recommend him? What according to you should be some of his priority projects?
The priority for him to succeed is to know the people, know the field, and because there are some people, there are some voters that might tell you that, look, I don't like your party. I don't like what you stand for, but I sympathize that you are able to take pains to come meet me in my bush. I've been to Mulundu, I've been to Yukaduma, I've entered the bushes of the Pygmies. I've gone through the borders of Chad from Marwa along down to Yagwa and gone across. I've gone through all these places so the people know you. And when the people know you, they'll be able to at least like you.
It's at the Congress or in Bamenda. We saw the presence of a CPDM delegation and Tichut Etswa. You invited, Mr. Chairman.
Now, when we have a convention of the party, you heard the parties are invited. We invited Bello, Buba, and the rest of them. We invited MRC or so. That's CPDM. We invited the CPDM and they sent Grigor Owana. And as I say, we can have political differences, ideological differences, but we are all in Cameroon. And we need to sit down and see what the other people are doing. If you imagine that We cried for transparent ballot boxes. They refused. We had to produce some work on them ourselves. We talked of a single ballot paper. They refused. We had to produce to work on them ourselves. And you saw what we meant. We've been doing this in elections. And if today the CPDM are able to endorse a transparent ballot box, and we do know that they will come up to the unique ballot paper. Today, there are so many things that they borrowed from us. Elecam is now using transparent ballot boxes. Elecam is now using computers. They first refused, and they were doing it all by hand so that they can always change. So there are so many things that when they come to see us at a convention and see the way we organize our elections, they are convinced that what we are doing is the right, and they try to emulate.
Reform Party, of which I have the honor to be the national president, is announcing to the Cameroonian public and the world that I, Senior Barrister Agbo Ashu Emmanuel, will be running as Reform Party candidate for the 2018 election in Cameroon. Reform Party is the only party in this country, and maybe in Africa, that feels that employment can be created from our own means. We don't need foreign investors. We don't need foreign banks, what the French people call bailleurs de fonds. We don't need them. We have enough resources here to create enough employment to employ our youth and prevent them from going to die at Lampedusa. A plan of action to end corruption. We are not talking about reducing it. We say to end corruption. I want to take the first part of it, which is the institutional measures that we want to put in place to end corruption. We thank the CPD regime for creating CONAC and the audit bench. But we say that this government has made nonsense of those two institutions by saying that their reports have to go to the president. We are saying that if CONAC were to table channel its reports to a magistrate, like the president, like the Procureur General of the Supreme Court, that magistrate will send this report against the people who have stolen our monies to the competent court that will immediately arrest them. And the audit bench, you have the audit bench, which is supposed to look into the accounts of audit bench of Supreme Court, look into the accounts of parastatal companies and the directors of public managers of public funds. But unfortunately, this court does not pass any judgment. So we think that it is a court that has no use. That ought to be an audit department under the Procureur General of the Supreme Court. If we make it an audit department, and that department finds that somebody has, any manager of public funds has misappropriated, then you send him to court. The President of the Republic has nothing to do about any person who has stolen and must be made to answer for the monies he has taken. So institutionally, we think that those two institutions have to be brought under the Procureur General of the Supreme Court. I want to say that under the Reform Party proposals, we don't want Minister of Justice, because that minister was put in place purposefully to bring the judiciary under the feet of the government, which is wrong. Cameroon is a unitary, decentralized state, and the decentralization structures of Cameroon are the region and the councils. Instead of that, we have a hyper-centralized system that is in place. I want to say that this system that is in place is unconstitutional, because the Constitution has given us the structures that should be in place. So what is Reform Party proposing? We are proposing a very simple decentralized system that will have the advantage of cutting down government spending, simplifying administration, bringing administration to the village level. Those were interviews of the week. GILBERT NGIMNDOH, your last word before we go.
Yeah, what I would say clearly, let me begin from Batibu, where administrators are kidnapped, abducted, and there is no way to when we can expect them back. Let the security forces maintain the order they have been sent to maintain. Let them stop shooting at innocent people. Let them focus and try to search these people. They were sent there to put order. Putting order does not necessarily mean kill Cameroonians. They themselves know very well that those who are attacking them are not these old mothers, they are ransacking their homes. Are not these young children of 10 years, they are brutalizing on the road. How can the government be calling on school return, and then you see a child on the road, you brutalize him, get him kicked up and down, give him slaps. You expect that he should go to school. By which means? From Batibo now into our new government, like I insist, you should stop being pessimistic. Expect something from the new government. Those who have been placed in the ministries, a lot is awaited from them, and we know that. I'm very confident that we are going to reap a lot from their new positions.
GILBERT NGIMNDOH, civil society actor and historian, thanks for being our guest in this edition of Inside.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. Take the appointment for next Sunday. Goodbye.